Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. We're going to talk about $97.8 billion stolen. Hey folks, welcome to the program. Please do me a favor, will you please? Will you give me the finger? And will you please share this program far and wide? It's important because history repeats itself. It's important that you understand this lesson. By the way, I've got something for you since it's the holiday. I've got 25% off CBD. I'm telling you, this stuff's the bomb. And you know the holidays are hectic, incredibly hectic. You're probably going through family drama or last-minute shopping, late nights, make you feel like you're running an endurance test. That's why I'm sharing your holiday survival plan. CBD from CB Distillery. Seriously, everything you need for a holiday is here. Stuff mom stocking with CBD for better sleep. Gift your fitness friends or yourself pain relief stick for your post-workout pain. And don't forget to grab a little bit of holiday calm. Every CBD Distillery product is made with premium quality, clean ingredients, no fillers, no artificial anything, and no PCAPs. And there are over 2 million customers and 100% money back guarantee. And it's a gift you can give to, right? Feel good about giving. I love the roll on. This is the year, folks, to give yourself, hey, you can go to the URL, you can scan the code, but give yourself and everyone on your list the gift of better sleep, less stress, and pain relief with CBD from CB Distillery. Now, remember, the promo code's not my name like normal. It's Rumble this time. You can get 25% off your entire purchase. Visit cbdistillery.com, enter promo code Rumble for 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com, promo code Rumble, cbdistillery.com. Some of the products aren't able to be shipped to every state, but you'll see that on the website. And by the way, now is the time when it's cold outside to plan your garden in order to plant your garden. Remember, we did several bestsellers. The key one is the Food Forest Bible, how to literally plant one. These things are biblical in nature. It's a food forest, sustainable, self-managing natural food production. Look for my name on it because, well, there's copies out there where they hacked my ebook, right? They hacked it. This is the way it is. So look for my name on it. You're not getting the authentic real book. And we told you about doing vegetables. Well, we also told you about doing fruit, how to grow giant fruit in small spaces. And if you're one that doesn't want to dig or doesn't want to weed, here's the way to do it. But it's a perfect holiday time gift. And of course, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Gold Co. And we're going to be talking about a gold lesson, history lesson you need to know. All I'm asking you to do is to go to jovanlovesgold.com with my partners at Gold Co. and request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. It is that simple. There's going to be a changeover. It's coming. History repeats itself. There is going to be a changeover from paper currency. We already know what it's going to be. It's going to be digital currency. All I have to say is I've been warning you for a very long time. I started telling you when gold was not even, $1,500 an ounce. Now it's $4,800 an ounce. Whew. By the way, if you set up an account, you might qualify to get $10,000 in free silver, and silver's through the roof as well. Okay, we're going to do a history lesson. Hopefully you like the history lessons, because the point is history repeats itself. That's not a myth. That's a fact. History repeats itself. And if we don't learn, then we're kind of in trouble, right? And I show you these things. I not only show you how to be the smartest patriot in the room, because remember, if you don't know how they do it to you, you don't know how to defend against it. And I'll also show you how history repeats. It does. So get ready for a history lesson that was never taught. The $97.8 billion. Yep, $97.8 billion gold heist. Interesting story. Share this lesson. Let's get started right after this.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, we're going to be talking about a $97.8 billion, with a B, billion-dollar gold heist. It's a gold heist, a history lesson you probably never heard. Now, I know you're thinking Fort Knox. Yeah, there's a lot of questions about Fort Knox and his gold there. I don't know. Do you think there's some indication that they're going to name it Fort Knott instead of Fort Knox? Who knows? But this one is a little bit different. This is one that they don't teach in schools. They don't teach in economics. They don't teach in criminal law. They don't teach, anywhere. And the reason they don't teach it, can you guess why they don't teach about this gold heist? Put it in chat. I just want to see if you know. Put it in chat. Hey, Bob. Hey, Bell. Hey, Hedger. Hey, Gene. Hey, Cuck. Chuck. I said Cuck. I'm sorry, Chuck. We know you're not Cuck. Why don't they teach this lesson? Do you know why? Any idea why they don't teach economics or finance or criminal law? You can't handle the truth. I'm going to give you the truth. And I try to do that in history lessons because history is the greatest indication of what's going to happen in the future. So yes, there was a $97.8 billion gold heist. It happened in history. The actual number is $97,853,480,000. I have that right. $97,853,480,000 gold heist. Let's go back in time to understand this history lesson. It's 1933. My father, who was born September 8th of that year, hadn't hit the ground yet. He was the last boy in his family, and so he was the youngest boy, and then there were two young girls that came after him, and 9 that made it to adulthood out of 16 that ultimately had been birthed in Crittenden County, Mississippi. Right? Family had row houses. They were sharecroppers. One house was for Grandpa and Grandma and the girls. One house was for the boys. You know, it's that time when there really wasn't much entertainment to do, but unfortunately, my Uncle Jimmy, God rest his soul, all of my aunts and uncles are gone now. That entire generation's gone. But my Uncle Jimmy, one night at the urging of his brothers, Frank and Lindy and Henry, etc., in the row house of the boys, decided that he could fart out the oil lamp. True story. True story. He was a teenager, and well, not quite a teenager, but enough for grass to be on the playing field, if you know what I mean. And he decided, at the urging of his brothers, that he could fart out the oil lamp. And he did. Problem is, it blew up on him. True story. Blistered his tank and his kibbles and bits. Of course, he went to screaming. All the boys went to screaming, and Grandma heard the words and heard what happened, had to come running in. And here was my Uncle Jimmy, hurt and writhing in pain. He said the pain was ungodly. True story. He told me. He says what was worse was having my mother, as a teenager, having to put salve on my balls. And so, of course, that was after 1933. But I grew up with one of those dads that literally did walk to school in the snow, barefooted, up and down hills, shoot rabbits while you go, stuff them in the snowbank, so there was something to eat for dinner. But that's kind of what was going on, right? It was the Great Depression. This is what we're talking about. And so it was, yeah, you don't want grandma. You don't want mama salving your balls when you're a teenager. You know what I mean? I guess unless you're a Democrat. But anyway, America was being ripped apart at the seams. The Great Depression, right? I guess that was roasted nuts. I see your comments in chat. Yes, it was roasted nuts. Jimmy's nuts roasting on an open fire. But it wasn't fun. Yeah, white people things. White people games. Anyway, that's just painful to think about, right, guys? So the country was coming unstitched. The Great Depression had been pummeling the ground for more than 3 years, and the public's trust in banks had failed. Right at that time. In fact, if you're an old history hunter like myself and you go to old ghost towns, by the way, ghost towns, there's still tons of money out there, a lot of it gold coin. And you know where you find it on the old homesteads? True story. You find it in 3 places. If you can find these old homesteads, you've seen these houses decaying. But if you can find Depression era ones, they used what was called post banks, hearth banks, and shit banks. True. They would take a post on their fence line. They would pull up the post out of the hole, and they would put their gold coins down in it, shove the post back in, and that was their bank. It's called a post bank. So if the posts are still standing and you want to pull the post out, sometimes you can find their treasure. The other one's called the hearth bank. And it's under the stone hearth in the house, whatever. They'd lift that stone and they'd put it under the stone. Yeah, the other one's called the shit bank. Crap bank, maybe. You know what a crap bank is? They would literally put their money in a sack and drop it down the shitter. True story. There'd usually be a little line with it, but they drop it in the poop to hide it, because nobody's going to go poop diving just to find their money. So if you find these old homesteads, that's where you can find it. But anyway, the country, our great country, was collapsing. It was in absolute panic. People then were selling their children. Yeah, you can find all kinds of stories, especially in the big cities. I guess it's a liberal thing. They would put for sale signs on their kids, and they would sell their children to make money. I guess to feed the rest of the children. But during this panic, people weren't just worried, they were acting worried. They were freaking out. And there was a rush on the banks in the United States of America. So people were lining up at the bank's doors to get their money. You know that's happened in the last decade 4 times where the bank shut. Depressing, isn't it? It's the truth. Anyway, withdrawals from the banking system went through the roof. Most of the banks at the time just basically shut down because they could not meet the demand for people saying, give me my money back. During that year, Franklin Delano Roosevelt took office March 4th, 1933. And as any politician did, as soon as he took office, he proclaimed, get this, the banks aren't really closing. We're just going to have a bank national holiday. That's kind of the wordsmithing they use, right? I told you it's all about words. And so he changed a bank crisis into a bank holiday. No. We're just giving them a holiday because they work hard. And what happened is the government was also collapsing, and it needed to find a way to stop the run on the banks and to give the government time to pump and dump, to try to figure out what the hell they were going to do, right? Yes, whores, always been whores, always will be whores. But, somebody just said, found a lot of old mason jars with the seals and stuff there. By the way, a single bottle, depending upon where you find it, there's like 168,000 ghost towns in the United States of America. We've plotted every one of them. We know them down to the GPS coordinates, by the way. Certain bottles, like cowboy bottles, like Hang 'em High, High Plains Drifter, those bottles they had in saloons. Back then, they were made in wooden molds. And some of those bottles today, when you find the trash dumps and you find those bottles, do you know they can bring about $2,000 a piece to collectors if they're not broken? They don't have to have anything in it, but they are valuable. Anyway, so we had our country falling apart, and there was this weird dynamic going on with, of course, money and being able to survive and everything else. And everything's falling apart. At that time, our country and most countries had gold backing their dollars as an anchor, right? You didn't print any more money than you actually had in gold. Novel concept, I know. And so it had to be back. It was the anchor behind our successful system to make sure everything was checked and balanced. But that anchor was being yanked at really hard. So what happened is fear rose. And there were there were gold coins, obviously, and there were gold certificates. Look at some of your dollars. I think $2 might be, I think there's $2 and $20, if I'm mistaken. You can correct me in chat. There were silver certificates. It means this dollar is sold, right? And it's backed 100% by silver. In fact, if you have some of the dollars, look for them. They're actually worth more as collectors. Anyway, people seeing the government fail, everything fail, they started pulling gold out of the system. Remember, we still had gold coins. We still had silver coins and stuff. And so people started yanking it out of the system saying, I don't trust the government. You ever heard that before? And so what happened with all this gold being taken across the country, it was and it would belong to the people. It did not belong to the government. Remember, the government convinced people, we're better, safer stewards of your money than you are. Let's protect it and not have you hide it in small batches that you have where it is, where if robbers wanted to come steal a lot, they got to hit an entire county, which is not going to happen. We'll make it safe if we'll just centralize it in one place. And we got the banking system. And so people decided, I don't trust the government. I'm taking my freaking gold and I'm holding it close. Hell, I'll stick it up my hoo-hoo if I have to make sure nobody can get a hold of it. And that was the national instinct. It would be your instinct. It would be your instinct. This is mine and I'm holding on to it. And this is what politicians and policymakers feared. Because when gold drained from the banks and drained from the reserves, the government couldn't trade on it, even though they're supposed to be safekeepers. No, you're further financing the government. And so what happened is credit across the government got even worse, and it was further strangling our economy. It's because, and people don't realize this, the government's not giving shit out for free to all of these welfare people or all of these illegal aliens. It's your money. And when the government has it in banks and stuff and it convinces you to do it, or it can convince you to do it on a credit card, well, it's funny money and they get to use it. And so that's what happened. And so the policymakers went kind of apeshit. So in that atmosphere, lawmakers, fearing that their access to your money would go away. For me, this is my grandparents. For some of you, it might be your great-grandparents. And so the government searched. And you know, normally know where they search. They search our pockets, not their pockets, right? Oh. And they searched for something under the understanding that something needed to change. And that change, that something changed everything. The Roosevelt administration chose a very hard force them. Sound familiar? We got to force them to do it. Forceful lever, and that lever was gold. So on April 5th, 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed what has come to history to be known Executive Order 6102. Now, what's the first thing you realize about that? Executive order. The phenomenon of seeing teeth marks in gold coins was not a security measure. The phenomenon of putting teeth marks in a gold coin was if it left indentions when you bid on it, it was pure gold. If you bid on it and it wouldn't leave indentions, it was diluted gold with other metals. And so an executive order was signed, kind of like executive order, whatever, that you have the right to cut a penis off a little boy and call him a girl, or boobies off a little girl and call him a boy. You know about executive orders. Executive orders that if you don't buy the insurance policy we tell you to buy, you're getting fined $2,500. You know about executive orders. So this was all done by executive orders. And what they did by executive order is the government declared owning gold was a crime against the government. Yes, our government, by executive order, said, if you own gold, and if you have more than maybe just a couple of pieces, well, we're going to call that hoarding, and that's now illegal. I'll give you an example of how it works, because almost everybody listening to this broadcast is a gun owner. And so during the Obama administration, they used moves like this. Remember when you were a kid and you were clinking with your 22 and you buy a brick of 22 shells? You know, those green and yellow boxes, right? And it might have 1,000 rounds in the box. Well, most people don't know that the Obama administration, I think it's when it exceeds 50 rounds of any one caliber, you're considered a criminal. That's why most people right now are already criminals and don't know it. That's a little bitty rule that changed during the Obama administration to make everybody illegal. So this is what they were doing. And so what happened is the federal government told all Americans across all the media and radio and everything that they were ordered to deliver their gold coins, their gold bullion, and their gold certificates to the banking system. Means you got to go down to your local bank and you have to turn them in by May 1st, 1933, or you are a felon. You are a criminal. So what they did, they had a few little carve outs that if you had gold for industrial use, meaning if it was made in for something, manufacturing, like today we use it in, all electronics. They said if it's for industrial use or certain collector's coins, or that if you have gold certificates, but they cannot have a face value of more $100, then you can keep them. So this was all in Executive Order 6102. Now, behind that, right, was very definitive laws with punitive criminal enforcement behind it. Not like our elections where you have the Election Assistance Commission to this day, or the Help America Vote Act, which have no criminal enforcement whatsoever. These had criminal enforcement. And so it basically said, if you don't do this, you're going to get a $10,000 fine. God, what was that? That'd be like $1 million plus or $2 million in today's. Let's figure this out real quick. Hang on. I didn't do that math and I want to do it. Okay. Money value from 1933 to now. So let's look this up real quick. Let's see. Inflation calculator. Let's say you got fined $10,000 back then. How much would that fine be today? That was the equivalent when people, let's look at what people made. What was average yearly earning in 1933? The average earner in 1933 made $1,368. Okay. So let's take that. Hang on. One more number. Well, hold on. Divided by 1368. Okay, great. And so the fine was a $10,000 fine. The equivalent of a $10,000 fine at that time in 1933 was $249,212. So you can imagine this was a big honking fine if you got caught. And then you're on the hook to pay that at a time when a person was making $1,368 a year. So you basically were levied a fine if you got caught, equivalent to 182.7 years of working. That's the government. Anyway, so they forced this fine on people, and it also, it came with a combinative up to 10 years in prison. I'm giving you the scale of these numbers so you can understand the scare of fear and chaos that went on. And so the message was simple. Turn it in or risk ruin. Turn it in or we're going to freaking crush you. Now, back at that time, we'll just use April 5th when it came, if to understand how much gold that the United States government already had in its monetary systems, that means gold held in official channels, whether it be the Treasury or the Fed, at that time, the monetary gold that the United States government held was $3.97 billion. That's what the government had in gold. Not people, but the government. And so the way they did this is they forced you to turn it in, and you had to surrender it. It was kind of like eminent domain with huge fines. And so what they did is the government forced you to go to banks and turn it in, and they basically agreed to pay you the statutory rate at the time, which was $20.67 per ounce of gold, right? So the government says, your gold's our gold. You can't keep it. You're going to jail. You can't hold on to it. And we're going to take it, and we're going to promise you or pay you, because it was both promises and pays. Not everybody got paid. We're going to give you $20.67 per troy ounce. Basically, the instructions at that time fixed the gold price at $20.67 an ounce. So the government itself, between promises and cash, basically doled out about $1.4 billion, right? At the time. They estimated there were 67.7 million ounces in circulation. So the population of the United States owned amongst themselves 67.7 million ounces themselves. Now, here's an interesting point you need to know for the history buffs in yourself and the metal detectorists and gold hunters. Only about a third of that was actually turned in, because people collectively said, screw you. Now, of course, you got to remember, it made millions and millions and millions of people criminals in the government's eyes, but 1/3 complied. I can imagine them wearing their mask. Oh, wait, wrong. Chaos. But 1/3 of Americans turned it in at that time. That was the initial surge. 22.6 million ounces were given back to the government. Of course, there were investigations because they knew everybody wasn't complying. You can look in the National Archives, the FBI, and all this other stuff. 21 field offices had all kinds of investigations on under the crime of gold hoarding. Didn't go read it in the National Archives. You can read the statistical summaries about those damn people defying the government. If we want to look at the criminal side of it, okay, the criminal side of it, the Department of Justice agents and FBI basically forced people to surrender, okay, because they gave bonuses, they gave commissions if you turn people in. Sound kind of 1984-ish? Well, this is 1933-ish. They incented people to turn in their neighbors. You're not wearing a mask. He's not distancing 6 feet. Anyway, our government seized forcefully, not people willingly, $38,901,000 worth of gold by October 1933. So my dad was a whopping 1 month old. So that was basically about 16.4 million ounces that they had to force people to turn over. They had to force people to turn it over. There were 1/3 that voluntarily agreed to do it. And then under force, threat, guns, raids, everything else, right? By the time October 33 had run around, remember this came in April, they had already seized 16.4 million ounces. Now, what happened here is it's been superseded by COVID, taxation, and stealing, lying politicians. But at the time, it was the single largest wealth transfer ever. Yes, it was a wealth transfer in the United States of America, because you see, by October 1933, the government had threatened with imprisonment, massive fines that could never be paid, released all of their policing agencies across America and seized all of that. And then in 1934, January 1934, about a year later, Congress enacted and passed what is called the Gold Reserve Act. And it was that act which centralized monetary gold under the United States Treasury control. Okay, so they made it official. They did it by an executive order. They threatened you. Everything in the media is telling you, you're going to jail, you're going to jail. Don't do this. Comply. Wear your mask. Stand 6 feet apart. Don't do this. It's going to kill other people. People are going to get hurt. You're going to kill the country. You're going to kill democracy. Yes, same thing happened. But then the same politicians that seized it passed in January 1934 the Gold Reserve Act, creating the centralized monetary gold under U.S. Treasury control. But it came with one other interesting little trinket. Yeah, sounds a lot like Biden Obama, doesn't it? It came with one other little trinket. You know what the trinket was? Then at that time, remember, they just handed over you got to hand over your gold, and they gave you a whopping $20.67 for your gold. Then they turned around a little over a year later, under this, now calling it monetary gold, kind of like my gold, and they set the gold price at $35 an ounce. Wait a minute. You just forced everybody under threat, penalty, to give you it for $20.67 an ounce, or 67 cents an ounce, and that's if you actually paid them, because many people only got notes. And you're now saying gold's $35 an ounce? Yes, that's our government. So that changed from $20.67 to $35. Basically meant gold was worth $14.33 more, a jump of 69.3%, and the government got to keep it all. Not only did they get the gold, they manipulated the gold and got to keep not only the gold and keep people from owning it, they were able to get another, almost 70% out of it. You handed over to the government something that was very scarce monetarily, and the government takes it and remarks up that at a higher asset. And so they created a $2.8 billion reevaluation that went right to the government as well. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. And you had a treasury that I gave you the number. By the time this was all over, by the official report of June 30, 1934, the Treasury had in its coffers now $7.8 billion in gold. Right after that, they reported that we now have $8.2 billion in gold. Now, remember, there were still quite a few things in circulation. So the people that didn't capitulate to the government and were willing to say, screw you and become criminals, they made the upsize, but it was still a crime. It was still a crime. The government said, kind of wrote on the books, well, that was either lost or destroyed or exported. No, it was American citizens saying, screw you. And so what the government was able to get out of the American people was 13.9 million ounces of gold. That is what our federal government was able to seize from the citizens. When you do the math, that same gold that they seized is now worth $97.8 billion. That's why this is the single largest gold heist in history, because what the government seized under executive order and writing bullshit laws equates to today $97.8 billion. Interestingly, some of the gold that was collected and agreed to be paid back mysteriously disappeared between agents and collections. This is the single largest, or was at the time, the greatest wealth heist that was ever done. It was just an invention, kind of like Obamacare. It was just an invention to be able to get it from you. And everybody watching this broadcast, whether you know it or not, you were affected by this. And you couldn't get out of it. So a Democrat president known as FDR made you a slave to the government monetary system. Really only about, let's say, 30, 60, 40, 70 years after Republican Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Kind of tells you what parties focus on. Although it's all gone corrupt now because we don't have two parties. But that was one of the things that Democrats did for you. Oh, by the way, you know that upside? You know that incredible billions and billions and billions and billions of upside that the government got then at that price? At that price. Right? At today's price, the uptake was the government, got close to 60 billion. You know what they did with that money that they seized from your families? They turned around and said, let's put people to work building roads and national parks and job corps. And they took your money that they took. They spent it on improvements, roads, bridges, You ever wonder why Democrats always talk about roads, bridges? It's because they learned it from FDR. And so they took your money, put it right back out, put people to work in the Job Corps and stuff. And America said, oh my God, the Democrats at FDR saved us with the big New Deal, which is where they get the Green New Deal, by the way. So the government stole, inflated, spent, keeping a lot, but spent, fed it back out to people at their worst, got people on the government tit, and you go, oh my God, they saved me. They saved America. It's why my own family, it's why I connected it to my family, my father being born as this happened. Because why? Families couldn't feed themselves because the government did it. And when families were starving, the government took the money, fed it back to the people, called it a job. And the government was heroes. And FDR, Job Corps, and all these building projects. Oh, no, we're putting people back to work. And that's the major Democratic-oriented scam that led my family and many of your families to be lifelong Democrats until they learned the difference. And the person that set it free, once again, from that slavery, well, was Ronald Reagan. When he eliminated those bullshit laws and he eliminated the government setting the price for gold. And gold shot up almost immediately to $800 from $35. This is the way they do it. And that's why they don't teach this history lesson. But that is why this history lesson today is more valuable, because history will repeat itself and you need to know history. Save this program, share this program. History's going to repeat itself.
So good. So good.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future, you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. And dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm, or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. And your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
and the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man to have ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.